Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abu Bakar bin Zaharuddin and my teammates is Amin Nur Hazim bin Muhammad Nazri and Ahmad Haziq Afham bin Rasul. We are from Newbies Black Hat. Today we will present to you about cybercrimes and cyber law of India, Singapore and Vietnam. Okay, first thing first, we will explain the definition of data breach for each country, which is India, Singapore, and Vietnam. And we will then explain the punishment for data breach for each country. Next, we will continue with the cyber terrorism and the punishment for cyber terrorism. And then, we will explain the distribution of explicit content and its punishment. And after that, we will compare the imprisonment punishment for each country. And next, we will also compare the fine for each country. Then, we will present the Nakli and Akli that related to cybercrime. And then lastly, we will give our conclusion and recommendation. First, I will explain about data breaching. A data breach generally is the intentional or unintentional release of secure or private confidential information to an untrusted environment. So first, for India, under Section 66C of the IT Act, data breach is identity theft and provides that anyone who fraudulently or dishonestly makes use of the electronic signature. And for Singapore, under Section 416A, whoever commits a data breach is defined by a person who obtains someone else's personal information without their consent and for the purpose of committing an offence. And lastly, for the Vietnam, under Criminal Code Article 225, data breach is breaching regulation on operating, exploiting, and using computer network. Now, I will explain the punishment for data breach for each country. First, for India, the individual that commit the data breach could be fined up to 100,000 rupees and imprisonment which may extend to 3 years. And for Singapore, the individuals could be fined up to 5,000 Singapore dollars and imprisoned for up to 2 years.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I'm going to talk about cyber terrorism. So what is the meaning of cyber terrorism? Cyber terrorism is the use of internet to conduct violent acts that result in threaten, loss of life or bodily harm in order to achieve some ideological gain. So in India, under section 666F of the IT Act, whoever with intent to threaten the unity, integrity, security or sovereignty of India denies or cause the denial of access to any person authorized to access the computer resource or attempt to penetrate or access a computer resource without authorization. In Singapore, under Section 3, Clause 1 of the CMA, any person who knowingly and without authority or lawful excuse interfere with or interrupt or obstructs the lawful use of a computer shall be guilty of an offence. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, acts such as inciting people against the state, distorting history, gender, and also cybercrimes and network attacks on information system security to national security is under the law of cybersecurity Article 8 in Vietnam. So for the punishment for committing cybercrime, first of all, in India, whoever commits or conspire to commit cyber terrorism shall be punished by imprisonment and it can extend to imprisonment for life. In Singapore, whoever commits the cyber terrorism may face a fine up to 10,000 Singaporean dollar and also can be imprisonment for a term which is 3 years, and for the first time doing the cyber terrorism it may get both of the fine. And for Vietnam, a person might face a fine up to 1,000 million Vietnam dong or face a penalty up to 3 years of community sentence. So for the distribution of explicit content, First of all, we must know what is the meaning of explicit content. The meaning of explicit content is a media with the picture or video that containing an adult content. Uh, Normally, it is a sexual or pornographic. And in India, under Section 67A, 67B, under the main Section 67 of the IT Act, publishing or transmitting in electronic form, first, obscene material, second, material containing sexual explicit act, and etc. Third, material depicting children in sexual explicit act, and etc. In Singapore, under Section 29, by making or reproduction an obscene film for exhibition or distribution, or importing obscene film from exhibition or distribution. And meanwhile, in Vietnam, under Criminal Code Article 326, I quote, any person who makes, duplicates, publish, transport, deals in, or store books, magazine, picture, film, music, or any other items that contain pornographic content for the purpose of distributing them or distribute pornographic material in any of the following shall be fined. So, for the punishment for distribution of explicit content in India, under Section 67, for the first conviction, the person may get imprisonment and can be extended to until 3 years. Also can be fined, which may extend to 500,000 of rupees. And under Section 67A and 67B, for second and subsequent conviction, imprisonment may extend to 7 years and also will be fined, which may extend up to 100 million of rupees. For Singapore, under Section 29 of the Film Act governs of the offence of dealing in obscene film, the person can be fined of up to 40,000 Singaporean dollar and or imprisonment of up to 2 years. Under Section 30 of the Film Act govern the possession of obscene film, fine up to 80,000 Singaporean dollar or imprisonment for up to 2 years. And in Vietnam, a fine from 10 million of Vietnam dong until 100 million of Vietnam dong, equivalent to 5,000 USD, or the person may face a penalty of up to 3 years community sentence or imprisonment between 6 until 36 months.
Imprisonment comparison. Okay, now we are going to compare imprisonment between country India, Singapore and Vietnam based on the crime. For the first one, we could see that the breach crime imprisonment in the Vietnam is the longest among others, which up to 3 years. Next, for the cyber terrorism crime, India has the longest imprisonment punishment. The offender could be imprisoned for life for committing cyber terrorism. Third, India became the longest imprisonment for those who distribute explicit content, which up to 7 years. Fine comparison. For fine comparison, we will compare which country gives the highest fine for each crime. Data breaching in Vietnam can cost up to 300 million, which equivalent to RM54 ringgit. Next, India became the highest fine on cybercrime terrorism that cost up to 566,127 ringgit. Lastly, for the distribution explicit content, India again give the highest fine, which up to 56,434 ringgit. Luckily, that related to cybercrime. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Wa ta'awanu 'alal birri wat taqwa wa la ta'awanu 'alal ismi wal udwan, which means and help one another to do good and be pious, and do not help one another in committing sin and aggression. Conclusion and recommendation. Through our thorough analysis, we conclude that India has the most rigid and strict law between Singapore and Vietnam. This is due to its punishment for a cyber terrorism that intend to threaten the security and sovereignty of India, which will be sentenced to imprisonment that may extend to imprisonment for life. We recommend that all countries in this world to make a general cyber security law that can be applied to any country that are suitable with the current country law. With a general cyber law, we can have a standard cybersecurity law that can be used worldwide with monitoring by each country that use the law. So when one of them broke the law, they can be determined the decision of the broken law.